Before you start deciding what you want to add to your horse's diet, it's really important that you know how their digestive system works. I'm going to provide some basic information now that will help you with what to feed and how. There's going to have to be some follow-ups to this video because this is such a huge area that I see a lot of people get confused about. So I want to start and break this down into really small chunks. I really believe that understanding your horse's digestive system is actually the gateway to knowledge that you need to be able to provide the best nutrition that you can for them. So the best feeding practices provide your horse with all the energy, nourishment, vitamins and minerals that they need with no digestive or metabolic upsets. Of course, most people, and it's a little bugbear of mine, most people ask, what can I add to my horse's diet to provide a shiny coat, to stop this behavioural issue, to help hooves, etc, etc. Now, I'm definitely not against supplements. I use them myself and they're really beneficial. But unless you have gone down to the grassroots of what your horse's basic needs are with regards to diet, you're just chucking stuff out there and hoping. A couple of really basic points. Chewing is extremely important to the horse. It's actually a mental stimulation. They're used to chewing for about 16 hours a day. So it can help avoid some of the stereotypies that we see, like wind sucking. But it's also extremely important to their digestive system. So we really want the horse to be chewing as much as possible. Horses make between 800 and 1200 chews per kilogram of concentrate or pellet. 1 kilogram of hay requires them to chew about 3,000 to 3,500 times. So now, bearing in mind that it's not only good for their digestive system to chew more, it's good for their mental health, it's also good for their teeth. It's how they help wear their teeth evenly. This chewing thing is super important. When a horse chews, it's producing saliva. This saliva travels down with the food into the stomach, and the saliva has a bicarbonate content, so it actually acts as a buffering solution and helps the environment of the stomach as that food travels down. All the way through the digestive system live a host of bacteria and other microorganisms which are really important to the horse's digestive system. We help keep these in balance with the use of that buffer solution from saliva because it helps manage the acidic environment of the gut. So let's have a look at the horse's digestive tract, starting with the stomach. The stomach comparatively is really quite small. In terms of volume, it only holds about 7.5% of all of the volume of the digestive system, 7.5%. And it's really quite small when you consider the vast size of the horse. Of course, this is important because that's only the amount that they can contain and digest properly in their stomach before it passes through to the hind gut areas. The food that reaches the stomach only stays there a very short time. And once a horse stops eating, it slows the entire flow of food through the digestive system. So once they stop chewing and ingesting food, that food will stay in there for about 2 to 6 hours. Interesting side fact is that horses can't vomit. The entrance to their stomach is guarded by a really powerful sphincter muscle, so it actually can't come back up. That means once it's gone into the stomach, it's locked into the digestive system. Interestingly, the horse's stomach is half lined with cells that secrete gastric juices. Now, these gastric juices are quite acidic. The interesting thing is they keep secreting even without the presence of food in the stomach. So this is the glandular section of the stomach. The non-glandular section of the stomach does not secrete juices. Because the type of cell they are then, they're not very well protected against the acidity of these digestive juices. So these digestive juices constantly being secreted on an empty stomach will produce ulcers in your horse. So this is one of the many reasons that chewing is important, because the saliva, remember, has that bicarbonate content, and that helps buffer the acidity of the solutions in the stomach. If the acidic environment of the stomach remains too unbalanced for too long, then the bad bacteria can thrive and it can kill off the good bacteria. Sometimes when this happens, the bad bacteria will release a lot of gas and we get an inflated stomach. Remember, it can't come back out this way, so it's got to move through the system. This can actually be sometimes fatal to the horse. So, lesson for the stomach works best when it has almost a constant supply of food going through it. The small intestine is where we want most of the digestion and absorption to happen of our proteins, polysaccharides, sugars, fats, vitamins and minerals, etc. So again, if this passage is too fast or there is too much there'll be a lot that's left undigested in this foregut, which is the stomach and small intestine, and it will then flow through to the hindgut and cause a whole lot of other issues for your horse. The hindgut now is referring to the large colon, small colon, cecum and the large intestine. And this almost acts like a rumen, if you like, that ruminants have. Remember, horses only have one stomach, so they are monogastric, but this part of their digestive system behaves almost in the way of a rumen of some ruminants. Again, overloading this part of the horse's digestive system again leads to this massive imbalance of bacteria. So this hindgut is really used to dealing with the leftovers after the major bit of absorption and digestion has happened in the small intestine. Remember, if we feed our horse this massive feed of concentrates because we want it to put on weight, and that moves too fast through the small intestine, then our hindgut is going to be completely overloaded with food that it's not normally used to digesting. Overloading this part of the gut also causes a very big imbalance in bacteria. It can cause something called hindgut acidosis, which mimics ulcers, but in fact ulcers can occur in this region as well. They're very hard, much harder to diagnose, but they can occur and they really are uncomfortable for the horse. Again, too much imbalance here in the hindgut and the bad bacteria take over, the good bacteria start to die off and we start to get all sorts of problems. Now, make no mistake, these problems can be critical and fatal to the horse. These are issues like colic and laminitis. So you can see how understanding some of these really simple digestive processes are really important when you look at what you're feeding your horse. So to have a little think and decide, am I providing the horse small enough meals, regular enough, to assist this digestive process, or am I loading it? So step one in what to feed is lots of forage over the course of the whole day. In fact, the important first few steps to balancing a horse's diet is number one, is their water intake okay? Number two, ensuring there is enough forage in the diet. Aim for at least or roughly 2% of the horse's body weight to be provided to them in forage. Unless, of course, you have a metabolically challenged horse, you can drop that down under a vet's guidance. And the next first step, if you like, is to just check your energy in and out. Is your horse overweight? Is it underweight? If it's underweight, it's not getting enough. If it's overweight, it's getting too much. I'd like to leave this week's video with those first few important steps, and I'll delve into the rest of it a little bit more in some other videos. One of my frustrations is the amount of questions I get regarding what to actually add to a horse's diet or supplements to add to change their weight, what they look like, behaviour, etc. Now, what I'm trying to say here is supplements have a place, but unless you have addressed these basic needs of a horse, then throwing a supplement may as well be throwing your money out the window. So stay tuned for more videos, of course, on digestion and feeding. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of those. If this has been useful, please click like down the bottom by clicking the thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.